Société Nationale Malgache de Transports or Copyright Aériens, Société Anonyme, operating as Air Madagascar, is an airline based in Antananarivo, Madagascar. It is the national airline operating services to Europe, Asia and neighbouring African and Indian Ocean island destinations. It also operates an extensive domestic network. Its main base is Ivato International Airport, Antananarivo. The airline was formed in 1947 to feed into flights by Transports or Copyright Aériens Intercontinentaux and Air France, and upon the independence of Madagascar, it became the national airline. Initially operating services on domestic routes, the airline saw expansion in the late 1960s and 1970s, when it began international flights to destinations such as France and South Africa. In recent years the airline has been a subject of failed privatization measures. These are now on hold and the airline is majority owned by the Madagascar government. History = Formative years = Air Madagascar was formed in March 1947 by Transports or Copyright Aériens Intercontinentaux in order to feed into flights by TAI and Air France. The airline began operations with 2 Air France Douglas DC-3s and 6 de Havilland DH-89 Dragon Rapids. In 1957 TAI and Messageries Maritimes acquired shares in the airline, and in 1958 a third DC-3 was added to the fleet. In 1961 the Malagasy government, Air France and TAI reorganized the airline. In April 1961 the airline was renamed Madair and became the flag carrier for the newly independent republic. On August 23, 1961, the status of Société Nationale Malgache des Transports or Copyright Aériens, Madair was approved by decree. On October 20, 1961 a service from Antananarivo, Paris, via Djibouti, with a Douglas DC-7 leased from TAI was inaugurated. Société Nationale Malgache des Transports or Copyright Aériens, Madair was created on November 13, 1961, with a working capital of 400 million CFA francs, 447 employees, and a fleet comprising 2 Douglas DC-4s, 7 DC-3s and 4 Dragon Rapids. The government held 20%, Air France 44% and TAI 36% shareholdings, and the government held an option to increase its shareholding to some 65%. On January 1, 1962, Madair took over service to some 58 points in Madagascar, and on October 14 the name of the airline was changed to Air Madagascar, because of a negative image of the name Madair. In 1962 Air Madagascar carried 103,000 passengers, 7,500 tons of freight and 375 tons of mail and flew a distance of 2,400,000 kilometers. On December 31, 1962, the company was renamed to Société Nationale Malgache des Transports or Copyright Aériens Air Madagascar. A DC-3 of the airline crashed at Faraf in Ghana on July 15, 1963, killing 5 people. Flights to the Comoro Islands with DC-4s began in 1963. On May 14, 1963, the Malagasy government increased its share capital to 460 million CFA francs, and its shareholding from 20 to 30.44%. Jet age = In October 1963 the airline signed an agreement with Air France, which saw Air Madagascar beginning a service to Paris, via Djibouti, in July 1964 with a Boeing 707, which was painted in Air Madagascar livery, and operated by Air France crews. In 1965 the Dragon Rapids began to be replaced by light aircraft, mainly Pipers, and a Nord 262 was ordered in 1966. On July 19, 1967, an Air Madagascar DC-4, on a scheduled flight from Antananarivo to Tamatave and Diego Suarez, crashed after takeoff from Ivato International Airport, killing 42 people, including Albert Silla, the Malagasy foreign minister. The airline began scheduled flights to Rome in 1968, and the airline acquired its first Boeing 737-200 in September 1969. The aircraft was maintained by South African Airways, and on October 15, Air Madagascar began flights to Johannesburg, and in December began flights to Dar es Salaam and Nairobi via Majinga. On February 14, 1970, flights to Johannesburg operated via Lorena Section 0 marks, and on November 1, the 737 replaced the DC-4 on flights to the Comoros. In 1971 four de Havilland Canada DHC-6 Twin Otters were acquired, allowing the airline to retire some DC-3s which were transferred to the Malagasy military. By 1972, the airline was operating 737s on domestic flights to Tamatave, Nosy Be, Diego Suarez and Sambava, allowing for the retirement of two DC-4 seconds. A second 737 was delivered in December 1972, seeing the expansion of routes and frequencies on the airline's network. In April 1974, service with the 737s was extended to Menagerie, to Le Copyrighteur and Fort Dauphin. In the late 1970s, services to Johannesburg were suspended as a result of apartheid in South Africa. In 1979 the airline acquired its first wide-body aircraft when a Boeing 747-200B Combi was delivered, with maintenance being handled by Air France. In early 1986 the airline joined the International Air Transport Association, and in the same year placed an order for ATR-42 to replace the HS-748s, which had been delivered to the airline in January 1980. Services to Johannesburg were resumed in 1990. In 1994, the airline leased a Boeing 737-300 from ILFC, which was delivered on September 12, and was introduced on routes from Antananarivo to Johannesburg, Comoros, Mauritius, Nairobi, RA Copyright Union and Seychelles. Air Madagascar lost its monopoly on domestic flights in 1995, when the government liberalized the market, although few competitors have yet emerged. Flights to Munich and Rome began in 1996. In September 1997, the airline ordered an additional 3 ATR-42 for delivery in October. Services to Singapore began in October 1998, and were suspended in 2002. Towards privatization as part of reorganization plans to get the airline ready for privatization, in January 1998, the airline announced that it would phase the Boeing 747-200 Combi out of operation and would replace it with a Boeing 767-300ER. The airline purchased a new 767-300ER from Boeing with an April 1999 delivery date, and leased another aircraft from GE Capital Aviation Services from March 1998. Government plans for privatization of the airline in 1999 to a consortium which include Air France was suspended when the Central Bank of Madagascar defaulted on payments to Exim Bank for the airline's Boeing 747. In 2002, Lufthansa Consulting was awarded a management contract with Air Madagascar, with a view to improving the airline's efficiency and making it an attractive enterprise for privatization. The airline's creditors in November 2002 agreed to forgive half of the company's debts and rescheduled the rest over a 3-year period. Because of the political crisis, the first half of 2001 saw a 66% drop in passenger traffic and a 71% drop in freight, which damaged the airline's revenues. The airline resumed flights to Paris from Antananarivo on April 27, 2003, taking over from Blue Panorama Airlines which had been operating on its behalf since the crisis began. The first ATR-72 was delivered to the airline on November 14, 2005, followed by the second which was delivered to the airline at the Dubai Air Show a few weeks later. On June 17, 2009, the airline introduced non-stop flights between Nosy Be and Paris, and in the lead-up to the World Cup in 2010 in South Africa, the airline is improving services into Antananarivo for passengers coming to and from Paris and Johannesburg. In 2011 Air Madagascar was put on the list of air carriers banned in the European Union for safety concerns with their aging fleet of Boeing 767-300, thus prompting the airline to charter a Euro-Atlantic Airways Boeing 777-200 for their flights to France. In 2012 an agreement was reached with Air France to wet lease 2 surplus Airbus A340-300 for a long-term period. The first aircraft was delivered in April 2012 and was originally crewed by Air France, arrived in July 2012, re-registered 5REAA, and is damp leased with a domestic cabin crew. Despite being 14 and 12 years old respectively and with a questionable fuel efficiency, these aircraft will permit Air Madagascar to resume flights to Europe under its own colors and with a better service. Destinations. Air Madagascar serves destinations in Africa, Asia and Europe. Code share agreements. Air Madagascar has code share agreements with the following airline: Air Austral, Air Mauritius, Etihad Airways, Thai Airways. Fleet. Mid-2000s fleet renewal. During the mid-2000s, Air Madagascar was looking to renew their fleet. The two aging Boeing 737-200, which had an average age of 36.7 years, were scrapped in 2006 and replaced by more modern Boeing 737-300. The airline then replaced its four Boeing 767-300ER and one Boeing 767-200ER with a Boeing 777-200ER. The middle-aged 777, though, was replaced with two Airbus A340-300 wet leased from Air France from March 2012 till 2018 when a replacement aircraft is required. Current fleet. As of October 2015, the Air Madagascar fleet comprises the following aircraft. See also, Airlines of Africa. References. Bibliography, Par Copyright Net, Jean-Pierre Lehau, Christine. Par Copyright Net. Le Livre d'Or de l'Aviation Malgache. Jean-Pierre. Par Copyright Net. ISBN 2-92323646-0-5. Retrieved October 19, 2009. External links. Air Madagascar, Air Madagascar, Air Madagascar North America, Air Madagascar at ATDB, Profile, History and Events, Contacts and Management, Historical Planned Aircraft in Fleets, 64 avies certifies de passagers sur Air Madagascar.